Hey everyone, Walter Crosby with Helix Sales Development and another episode of Sales and Cigars. Today our guest is Jamie Shanks from Pipeline Signals. And Jamie's got a relatively new company with this great technology that helps a company use LinkedIn based on events to help capture information to go after your ideal company or ideal client profile. He gets into the details of explaining how it works, makes it super simple for salespeople where they don't have to do the work. These events and these leads and these tasks show up on their in their CRM on a Monday morning, and they just go execute. The smart work, all of the hard heavy lifting is done behind the scenes, and the salespeople just do their thing, go out and sell, stop wasting time. The amount of time that salespeople waste doing research and doing other types of marketing things where they think they're busy is significant. And this Pipeline Signals will help them reduce that time and stay focused on selling. So go grab a cocktail, go grab a cigar, strap in for another episode of Sales and Cigars. Thanks.
So kind of want to just jump in. Why do you think salespeople waste time, and how do they waste time?
They waste time because if you look at a seller, you're being paid for outcomes. You're valued at what I'll call $500 an hour value creators. Yet, unfortunately, part of the remit of the job, the only way to be effective is you need to gather data and intelligence to make informed decisions, sales intelligence. The collection, though, of that data, that's a $5 an hour task. And so sellers get dug into the mud trying to unearth this sales intelligence for themselves, which unfortunately can take up a disproportionate amount of their time, somewhere upwards of 12% of their week. So like a half a day a week.
Sure.
To get towards that outcome. But that's where if you think of a seller's job as mutually exclusive events, carving out that 12% is hugely valuable, because having them do $5 an hour tasks is awful. And they're really doing that for account selection and account prioritization perspective. And that's where they're spinning their wheels. What accounts do I call today, not tomorrow? Do I call A versus B? That's where that decision making is happening.
And, this is the thing, because as a salesperson, I learned early on that the only thing I really have is time. And I became very protective of how I spent my time. Not to say I didn't waste time, but I think today I see salespeople thinking they're busy, right? Looking up LinkedIn, doing research, when they really make money by having meaningful conversations with people, qualifying and disqualifying people. And what you're saying is that we can talk about your product, Pipeline Signals, helps with that. So can we kind of ease into how that makes that more efficient for people that do value their time?
I fully agree with you that as a seller, the two things that I can control are the decisions that I make and thus then the actions that I take. And you are making a decision to spend your time collecting data and intelligence. If you think of prospecting as a left and a right brain, sellers will spend a disproportionate amount of time on the left brain, the collection of data and intelligence to make informed decisions. But it's the right side of the brain that actually turns that data intelligence into informed conversations, to be bold and different with your customer. And as a seller, you will think that what you're doing on the left side of your brain is productive. But in essence, it's actually everything over here on the right side that makes you money. The more conversations you have statistically, it's like an at-bats game. The more conversations and the better those conversations are, and that's my belief of sales intelligence, the higher probability that you'll create more opportunities. More opportunities yield a greater probability of sales quota attainment. That's all that matters. And so if you're spending more than 30 minutes a day on LinkedIn as a social seller, and you're talking to the guy who actually invented that word and pioneered that category, You're spending more than 30 minutes. Yeah, I'm in 2012, wrote a couple books on the topic. If you are spending more than 30 minutes a day social selling, you are detracting from what actually makes you money. More sales conversations to lead to more pipeline.
It's unbelievable how many salespeople think they're selling and prospecting by just posting, liking on LinkedIn. And I'm not saying those aren't important. You can create credibility, you can start to build an audience, but that's not selling. That's not prospecting.
So if you think of social selling gets confused or conflated with social media marketing. And what those sellers think they're doing as social selling is actually social media marketing. They're fishing with a net. So they're focusing on their brand reputation and trying to become a trusted advisor, and they're throwing themselves out there. And that's a great thing to build a community. But what naturally happens is what comes inbound into a trawling fishing boat are the salmons that you want, or the tunas that you want, but then you'll get the crabs and the other sea urchins. They don't make up your ideal customer profile. Account-based sales development, we call it spear selling, social selling with a spear, is I am focused on a series of accounts within my total addressable market. I'm going to narrow that focus down to even a top 5 based on sales intelligence. What's happening to the people and the companies in those accounts. And I will build an account plan and an engagement plan specific to them. That is what leads. You have to go into the deeper water. You have to fish for the marlins. The only way to do that is you need to have a more strategic plan, more strategic plan as to who you're engaging.
Okay, so how does your business get that a sales team? Maybe they got 25 salespeople. They all have accounts in on LinkedIn. Can you kind of walk us through high level what that's going to do to get them to reach those key account growth type prospects?
So Pipeline Signals was birthed out of a social selling training company that I've owned for 10 years called Sales for Life. And what was happening is that sellers would say to us, can you, instead of just teaching us how to mine this intelligence to make informed decisions for engagement, looking for these compelling events, what if you built a global command center and monitored it all for us in real time? So Pipeline Signals, its core focus for sellers is to buy back their time. For revenue operations is what we're feeding your sales team are opportunities and risks in accounts based on human capital, based on people. And what we're looking for is what's called relationship signals. So in essence, if somebody leaves one of your happy customers and goes into a prospect that meets your ideal customer profile, we can capture that intelligence and we can capture it at scale. So if you have thousands of accounts, whether they are prospective, customers, even white space and greenfield, so accounts you don't even realize that you should be going after, or you're targeting new verticals or geos, we can capture the migration of people going into an account, being promoted, leaving, and what's the relationship to your happy customer base or your competitors. And we route all of that intelligence into your CRM of choice so that as a seller, you have a unified central repository of decisions around what account should I select and prioritize based on these relationships. They can come in as tasks, they can come in as leads, and now your sales team can process all of that valuable LinkedIn information without them doing the $5 an hour tasks.
$5 an hour. I think we got a minimum wage went up a little bit. We got to pay those people a little bit more. But so if all of those individuals have separate individual accounts, you're able to aggregate all of that into one CRM for one company?
That, in fact, is the secret sauce. And here was the underlying challenge. You have a seller in Philadelphia and a seller in Seattle. Seller in Philadelphia is monitoring a geography-based series of accounts. And somebody in Philadelphia, they up and they leave as the chief marketing officer of a company, and they go to Seattle. The seller in Philadelphia, now that they've left that account base in Philly, they don't care anymore. They go, well, you're out of my hands, and I'll just focus on my other accounts. They go to an account in Seattle. The seller in Seattle didn't come into work that day, didn't use LinkedIn that day, didn't check those signals. So now you have a hole that's been uh, somebody's left one of your accounts in Philly, so you might have account risk. Your fan or your advocate just went to Seattle. The seller in Seattle missed the opportunity, and so these are two distinct things that just happened. And at scale, that's what's happening on LinkedIn. Is seller A has a LinkedIn account, and they're monitoring their world maybe haphazardly, and if something happens outside of their world, they just don't care. And so we're connecting the dots at a global level on every account in the world that matters to you and connecting those dots in your CRM.
And this is all happening in real time. Like
Typically, it's either a weekly or a monthly basis. So we append your records either on a weekly or monthly basis, and depends on the size of your network or your need. Most companies will do this on a monthly basis because your sales team still needs to engage these sellers in a multi-touch, multi-cadence sequence. And that, in fact, will take some time to get a hold of these prospects. Congratulations on your new job. You came from my customer base. Let's have a conversation.
you warm them up a little bit. So what's the ideal size for you? What's your ideal client? What does that look like?
The ideal client actually isn't a size of who they are. It's a size of how big their total addressable market is. So our customers all are monitoring thousands of accounts. So anywhere between 1,000 and 10,000 accounts. And that is a combination of their existing customers, might be 300. Their prospects might be 1,800. Their competitors are X number of competitors. And they're also targeting Latin America for the first time. And that's all greenfield and white space. And they're trying to figure out who's leaving their North American customers into LATAM. So it's companies that are tackling a market that they can't possibly monitor themselves.
Yeah, there's just no way to manage all of that data. And I know some LinkedIn can be sensitive about things from time to time. You're actually helping somebody use LinkedIn the way it was designed.
Correct. And every LinkedIn profile is on the public domain. So if you look up my name, Jamie Shanks, I have a URL to my website being LinkedIn. And thus, if you know what to look for in the public domain, you'll notice that people are publishing user-generated data about themselves, where they work today, where they used to work, how long they worked, their work experiences. And so we're capturing that intelligence to help you as a seller use LinkedIn as a valuable engagement tool. Now that you have that new chief human resources officer that took a new job and you sell into HR, you can use LinkedIn InMails to start engaging them.
That when somebody suggested you like build this out and you were like, yeah, sure, no problem. How long did it take you? I'm just curious. I mean, sounds like
I turned down a bunch of so I had a cybersecurity customer in 2019 actually pulled me into a boardroom and was willing to write a big check and said, okay, instead of training my global sales force to do this, I want you to build a global command center. And in fact, I come from the cybersecurity monitoring space, so we all know what global command centers look like.
Sure.
I turned it down. And so then in 2020, when COVID hit, it bought back a lot of my life. I was on 80 flights a year for 5 years. We decided to build it ourselves. And so we took a year, in the year 2020 and early 2021, we alpha and beta tested it with some friends and family customers. And then we incorporated the business in May of 2021, and we took on our first customers in September of 2021, and we're growing 20% compounded a month because there is a massive, massive need to help customers be able to monitor the relationships going on in their customer base.
Because that's become more complex.
Job changes are happening way faster than they ever have.
They're exponentially practically, and it's harder to find these folks. And LinkedIn seems to be a resource to be able to track it and then engage, warm them up, right? I mean, it gives you all of those options. So you're poised for some huge growth.
That's the goal. That's why So I started a monthly recurring revenue business.
Awesome. So how does how long does it take somebody to get onboarded, and what does that process look like? Is it days, weeks, hours?
Yeah, 2 weeks. So we have an onboarding process that's live on our website. We map their total addressable market. We map the accounts they want to go after and the rules that make up their ideal customer profile. And within 2 weeks, they have their first signals report, data upload into whatever CRM of choice they want. And then we enable their sales team. And then every month we do feedback loops and training to help their sales team understand what is a signal, why should I care, what do I do with a signal when I get it, what are messaging best practices. And that's also helped why we have such sticky customers, is because this isn't just a tool. This is 10 years of global sales training brought into a tool to help them leverage LinkedIn and the intelligence around humans to make informed decisions around what accounts they select and prioritize.
Well, if I heard you right, your approach is to get them in, start to let them see it, and then keep refreshing, helping them see. Salespeople, I'm a sales guy for 30 years, so I can say this. We're not doctors or smartest people in the world. We need
One my whole life too. I get it.
We need help. And we really care when it helps us. So we see a path to making more money. We see a path to growth. So that model really.
And you as a seller don't have to do anything. Your own company gave us all the customers and prospects to monitor and who owns what accounts. You just wake up on a Monday and you open up Salesforce or HubSpot or whatever CRM, and there's a task, like a pop-up. By the way, John Smith just left customer A. They went into customer B. Give them a call. Here's their email address, their LinkedIn profile, and phone number.
And start warming them up. Start whatever prospecting process you have. Awesome. We'll have some things in the show notes for people to track you down, but what's the best way to reach out and start to get more information and engage?
Go to pipelinesignals.com. Contact us. Of course, you can drop me a note on my LinkedIn profile. I believe I'm the only Jamie Shanks on. I should be the guy that looks like this on LinkedIn. Yeah. And we're here to help. Like we help. We have customers from, the Snowflakes and the Celesticas and the Teradatas of the world, to small growth organizations, but they all have an untenable amount of accounts they need to monitor.
What about startups? Is there a way to help a startup really build that network?
Especially greenfields and white space. So we help startups. They don't know what their total addressable market is yet. Their CRM is so incomplete. Look at my own company. We use Signals to build my own company. And every time you win a customer, you reverse engineer it. Where did people go? That leads to 4 or 5 more opportunities. And it kind of snowballs. But you can use it to map new verticals, new geographies. Imagine taking a look at, we're sellers. Every chief revenue officer that takes a job in America, give them a call. We have the list. Yeah.
Awesome. Jamie, this pipelinesignals.com, get to the website, dive in there. I think it's a great way for a company to start to scale and really understand how to grow the data in the CRM, make it accurate, and really scale their sales organization. Anything I missed you want to add?
No, you're smoking a stogie, so I know that we wanted to talk stogies.
I usually ask about if you have a relationship with cigars, and I get the feeling, because I heard you say a boat a couple of times, so there's a Canadian accent.
My very first trip ever outside of Canada and the United States was I was 22 years old in university, and 8 buddies. We went to Veradero, Cuba, and I'm on the beach of Veradero, Cuba. It's a beautiful place. And somebody handed me a box of Romeo and Julietas. And all throughout my 20s, from Cohibas to Davidoffs to Romeo and Julietas to Monte Cristos. As a Canadian, you have access to all of them. And so all throughout my 20s, my buddies and I, we smoked cigars all the time. Then I got into my 30s. Yeah, it didn't sit well with me anymore. So about 10 years ago, I quit.
Yeah, well, I started about the time you quit. I developed a couple of bad habits, as my wife would say, cigars and golf, which go hand in hand. So, great story. I'm jealous. I haven't been to Cuba yet. Um, I'm going to find my way there one way or the other. So,
Route through
thank
Canada.
you. Yeah, I've had plenty of offers. So, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And we'll hopefully our listeners inundate your website with inquiries.
I hope so. Thank you so much.
Thanks.